Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
People love him and respect him. Roger Stone.
Now, get in the zone. It's the Stone Zone. Here's Roger Stone.
You are now entering the Stone Zone. Well, Congressman Eric Swalwell, you might remember him. He was the one who had an adulterous affair with a not-so-glamorous Chinese spy named Fang Fang. Fang Fang was able to penetrate the congressman's office at a time that Eric Swalwell sat on the House Intelligence Committee and therefore had access to classified documents. This is the same Eric Swalwell who went around accusing me and Donald Trump and many others of Russian collusion when, in fact, he was a patsy for the communist Chinese. And it is more recently come to light that he actually lives in the District of Columbia, but he has decided to run for governor of California. This is an incredible move because he's not legally eligible to run for governor of California. He doesn't own a home there. He's registered to some post office box, but mortgage records show that he claimed California as his principal residence, but also that he owns a home, a $1.2 million mansion in the District of Columbia, where he now lives. So Joel Gilbert, who is a documentary filmmaker and online journalist who figured all this mortgage fraud stuff out, filed a lawsuit in California challenging Eric Swalwell, who for some reason has taken on the grooming habits of Steve Bannon. You no longer see him shaved and in a suit. I think he's trying to appeal now more to the AOC, Ilhan Omar fanatical divide in the Democrat Party, the rising progressive wing. So he looks like a slob, but it appears not only based on his own public filings, he has a huge mortgage on the home, but he's not eligible. Now, the court ordered a hearing on whether or not Eric Swalwell should be barred from the governor's race on the 20th, which is only 6 days before they print the ballot and have to begin mailing them out for the primary. So we're going to be watching that case very, very closely. Swalwell, of course, the Inspector General of the Biden administration, surprisingly, produced a report that proved that Swalwell, who is kind of the sidekick, the Sancho Panza for Senator Adam Schiff, perhaps now that it's a race. I was about to say perhaps the most corrupt senator in the U.S. Senate, but then there is Mark Warner, the guy who was in cahoots with Steele, who wrote the famous Steele dossier, which triggered the entire phony Russian collusion hoax. It was amazing to me when the Senate Intelligence Committee was investigating Russian collusion, that their final report was a very interesting hodgepodge of clippings from left-wing websites off the internet, which is certainly not evidence. But the Senate committee chairman, a Republican, Richard Burr, was a Trump hater, and he let Mark Warner have his head. Clearly, Warner got caught in a series of text messages talking back and forth with the infamous Christopher Steele, the mysterious British M1 agent who created the whole phony report. In other words, the Steele dossier claimed that Donald Trump, when he was a private businessman, visited Moscow and was compromised in a hotel room with a bunch of French prostitutes, and it is alleged that he watched them urinate on a bed that Barack Obama and his wife had once slept in. It is a complete and total fiction. I think it was originally Steele working with the notorious Fusion GPS, which is really a dirty tricks firm that you hire, engineered this. I think originally it was commissioned by Paul Singer, a Republican, who was a strong supporter of Marco Rubio. He owns the Free Beacon. He's a neocon, a strong supporter of Israel, but also a very pro-LGTB. I think the idea was to try to use it to catapult Marco Rubio. But it came to naught. Then these tricksters resold the report through the law firm Coy Perkins, and they disguised the payment for this illicit report as legal fees. Now, the reason the report is key is because it is this report and this report alone that James Comey and all of the others choose to charge Donald Trump. This is the centerpiece of their getting the FISA warrants. This is the centerpiece, the legal rationale for spying on his campaign. It is all highly illegal, and it is unclear whether we are yet going to see accountability and justice. See, the left says, if anyone who kind of pieces this together and figures out that the seditious conspiracy that began in the White House in a meeting chaired by President Barack Obama himself, Vice President Joe Biden was there, National Security Advisor Susan Rice was there, CIA Director John Brennan, a key ringleader in this hoax, was there, FBI Director James Comey, and others. And it is there where they basically use the Steele dossier as the pretext for launching a counterterrorism investigation on Donald Trump, which in turn means they did spy in his campaign. Sorry, Leslie Stahl. And they got away with it. It is the greatest single dirty trick in American political history. And now you start to look at the claims against Tulsi Gabbard. This is rancid. What we have here is the same exact playbook that they used in the second Ukrainian hoax. In that hoax, the two twin Vindman brothers, they were so cute in their little uniforms, they made up a conversation or mischaracterized it between Donald Trump and President Zelensky that they had no recording of, but they claimed that they had listened into. They fed that to a man named Eric Ciaramella, who was working at that point as an aide to Senator Adam Schiff, had previously, and I think would later, work for the Central Intelligence Agency. So then he becomes a whistleblower, and he's whistleblowing about fabricated information. It's exactly what has happened here. It's the same playbook. It's the same phony attempt to take down Tulsi Gabbard, and it's not coincidental that this comes 4 days after she is glimpsed at the raid in the Fulton County, Georgia Board of Elections warehouse. And Trump puts out a statement that he's very serious about getting to the bottom of the safety and security of our elections, particularly a focus on the electronic voting machines and whether they can or have been manipulated, as well as paper ballots and mail-in ballots and the like. So she's taking on powerful enemies. It's why they're trying what Nancy Pelosi called the wrap-up smear. That's what she called it. She said, first you get it published. Well, that's how they do it. They invent the whistleblower, then they leak the existence of the whistleblower. Now, in the case of Tulsi, what was she accused of doing? That's the best part. It's so secret, we can't tell you. It's classified. So even though the Wall Street Journal, who first ran this story, admits in paragraph 12 or 13 that all of these charges were investigated and they could find no evidence that any of it was true. So they took something that they knew had been discredited and debunked, and they use it to attack Tulsi Gabbard. It's not really her that they are attacking. First of all, she is the one who I think identified for the American people who the criminals are, who engaged in an ongoing conspiracy that begins in the Oval Office, goes to the 2020 election and the post-election smear using the Russian collusion hoax to try to destabilize Trump's presidency and try to remove him twice, and two completely fraudulent Ukrainian two impeachments, the second one pertaining to Ukraine. And that one's even more outrageous because the Ukrainian impeachment, when the Democrats solemnly walked from the chamber to deliver to the Senate their articles of impeachment, is actually a defensive and offensive move. It is based, of course, on this claim that was invented that Trump had pressured the President Zelensky for information about Joe Biden. Why would this be a secret? Biden bragged openly that he threatened Zelensky that he would withhold $1 billion in U.S. aid unless Zelensky would fire the prosecutor who was investigating Burisma and Joe Biden's son, where they were potentially reaping millions of dollars. If that got out, Joe was done. So they invented this phone call between Trump and Zelensky, and then they leaked it to, as I say, Eric Ciaramella, who's a veteran spook and intelligence, but he now presents himself as a whistleblower. The intelligence agencies grab the report, they classify it immediately, then they leak its existence to a reporter. The worst one ever was a woman named Natasha Bertrand. She actually called me once and on the record and said, well, Eric Swalwell has given me your testimony from the House Intelligence Committee. I said, wait a minute, that's classified and it's not supposed to be shared. And she just laughed. And she says, Swalwell says you lied. I said, actually, under the House rules, Swalwell's not supposed to be commenting on classified testimony. Ultimately, the False Statement Act requires a false statement before the committee to be both willful and material. And while it's true that I didn't remember everything perfectly, there was no underlying motive to lie about, because there was, as Mueller's own report would later admit, no WikiLeaks collaboration, no Russian collusion. But this woman went on to CNN, which kind of figures that this reporter was shameless. She reprinted a number of things about me that were fed to her by Swalwell that had no foundation. She just kind of made these things up. As my friend Sean Hannity would say, journalism today is dead. And of course, where is Natasha Bertrand now? I believe she went to CNN. I don't get my news from CNN for the same reason I don't eat out of the toilet. Very soon we will see if Eric Swalwell's attempt to vault from the House minority, where he's increasingly frustrated with Trump's policies, and he's been exposed for mortgage fraud, reaping a lot of bad press. He has decided to seek the governorship, but we'll know what the courts think of that shortly. I'm Roger Stone. You're listening to The Stone Zone, and we'll be right back.
This is The Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
Stepping Stone. Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now, is a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to The Payne Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This is The Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
They went after a guy named Roger Stone, who's sitting in the office. And I'll say this in front of Roger, he's no baby. And right now, he's cleaner than anybody in this place. No, they treated him very unfairly.
Now, get in the zone. It's The Stone Zone. Here's Roger Stone.
we're back. I must admit, I didn't watch the halftime show, but it's clear to me that the NFL has kind of lost its bearings. They don't understand who the average American football fanatic and fan is, with the choice of a reggaeton singer, Bad Bunny, who performed in a woman's dress. His entire performance was in Spanish. Now, I don't speak Spanish, so I got a translation, and this is the foulest, most vulgar, sexually oriented discussion of oral sex, and it is outrageous, and it kind of shows that the NFL has kind of lost touch with who their viewers are. Turning Point USA pulled kind of a major media coup when they offered an alternative, more wholesome halftime show. They did a great job of putting it on Turning Point's own YouTube and Rumble channels, but also many, many, many other large outlets carried it. And last I saw, it had gotten like a 6 million viewer share, far larger than Bad Bunny's halftime performance, doing all this kind of homoerotic gyrating and other pornographic moves, as well as nauseating globalist display of all Latin American flags, designed obviously as a rebuke to President Trump. We're in America. This is the National Football League, not the International Football League. This, I guess, was in stark contrast to the program, The Turning Point. That's Charlie Kirk's old outfit. God bless Charlie Kirk. We miss him. Their halftime alternative began when Human Events senior editor and good friend of mine, Jack Posobiec, opened the broadcast with an emotional dedication honoring the memory of our mutual friend Charlie, which prompted thunderous applause from viewers. It was really quite the scene. The tribute set the tone for the night, centering on patriotism, unity, American values. I think that's what football fans would have preferred to see. It obviously reposted by a number of people in the Trump administration, and President Trump himself trashed Bad Bunny's halftime show on his own Truth Social platform. Kid Rock closed the night with a powerful performance that included a message encouraging Americans to rediscover Scripture and embrace redemption through Christ. That's what saved me. I have stared into the eye of the abyss, but I am only with you because I'm redeemed in the blood of the cross. The Washington Monthly made fun of me. They mocked me because I declared that I had committed my life to Jesus Christ and his will be done. But that's how liberals are. I don't care really what they think. You see, I only care what he thinks. And the attacks of liberal elites, well, like Nixon and others, I let them roll down my back. I'm Roger Stone. You're listening to The Stone Zone. When we come back, I really want to get into what's going on in Illinois and Chicago under Tubby J.B. Pritzker. He got caught with $2 billion worth of state funds, either in his foundations are taking them in the form of grants, or in his blind trust. It is epic corruption. J.D. Pritzker, already a billionaire, grabbing more. When we come back, right here in the Stone Zone.
This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
They went after a guy named Roger Stone who's sitting in the office. And I'll say this in front of Roger, he's no baby. And right now he's cleaner than anybody in this place. No, they treated him very unfairly.
Now, get in the zone. It's the Stone Zone. Here's Roger Stone.
And we're back in the Stone Zone. Let's jump right in. My old friend Rod Blagojevich, the former governor of Illinois, they used to call him Elvis, a man who was railroaded by Barack Obama, falsely accused of trying to sell a U.S. Senate seat, something that was never proved. This was an orchestration because you see, Blagojevich was ordered because the Senate seat was being vacated by Obama himself, who was becoming president. Blagojevich had the authority to appoint the U.S. senator to fill out the remainder of the term. Barack Obama wanted Valerie Jarrett to have this appointment. I think Rod resisted that. So they cooked up this scheme to frame him. To this day, he's unable to get the DOJ to release the FBI 302s that they did with Barack Obama. But even he points out today that he thinks it is insanity to oppose a requirement that those who vote in our elections be U.S. citizens. That's the SAVE Act. As well as requiring a photo ID. You need a photo ID to buy cigarettes. You need a photo ID to get on an airplane. You need a photo ID to apply for welfare. You need a photo ID to get a driver, to get a number. You can't buy beer without it. So, and to say, as the Democrats do, that requirement is somehow racist. What's racist is the notion that black Americans are what, not competent or too dumb or can't afford to go get an ID. Of course, that's racist in itself. We have a rising black middle class in this country, and they've really benefited from the Trump economy. They're going to benefit more. So the idea of just even looking at minority, African American voters as monolithic, as they always were in the past, traditionally, is an important advance. Trump really made deep inroads among Hispanic voters. Interestingly enough, polling that I looked at after the election showed that he did much better among voters who got their news in English, who spoke Spanish but got their news in English. He did less well among Hispanic voters who spoke Spanish and got their media from Spanish language media, Telemundo and Television and the others. And the Trump's inroads were disproportionately among men. He actually outright won Hispanic men. That's a historic first for a Republican. And he got about 42 to 46% among Hispanic women. So that is the seismic change that Donald Trump brought, something Mitt Romney could not do, something John McCain could not do. But we see what's going on in Illinois, and it is beyond belief. I've just published a second report with Mark Vargas, of the editor of the Illinois Review, that shows that Governor J.B. Pritzker, already a billionaire, has taken billions of dollars into the companies that are in his blind trust, making you wonder how blind it could be. State dollars going to companies owned by Pritzker, but beyond that, there is evidence that a number of nonprofit foundations that Pritzker controls have gotten other extremely lucrative state contracts. So you have an incredible situation of utter and complete corruption. Chicago, meanwhile, is ground zero in the efforts to expel dangerous illegal criminals. The left continues to say, ICE agencies, these mean ICE agents are just snatching U.S. citizens of color and children off the streets and violently arresting them to deport them. It's a complete false narrative. Of course, more than 70% of those who have been arrested either have a criminal record in their own country, or they are facing criminal charges here, or they've just been arrested here and identified in the arrest as being here illegally. It's a completely false narrative. That said, I do like the idea that there has to be a solution to the problem of those people who are here illegally, have been here 25 years or more. who have paid taxes, who have gainful jobs, who've lived modestly, who've not broken the law, who are gainfully full-time employed, for some kind of, monitoring system, so we know where they are, since they are in the country illegally, but we know they're not a danger to our society. They're not terrorists, they're not drug dealers, and that's where Tom Homan and Stephen Miller have really put their first focus. But J.D. Pritzker, teaming up with one of the most dangerous men in the country, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, this guy has a 6% approval rating, and that's about his IQ. He blames all of the crime problems in the city of Chicago to Richard Nixon. Yeah, I know. Richard Nixon has been in office for more than 50 years. But he is very, very anti-ICE. He's ordered, together with J.B. Pritzker, they passed a state law, which the mayor supported, which prohibits Chicago police officers from aiding ICE agents or Border Patrol agents whose lives are in danger. So if they are theoretically surrounded by violent thug terrorists who are armed, they should get the backup help of the Chicago police. Instead, the police have now been told to stand down. Now, legal experts that Mark Vargas consulted with made the argument that since that's illegal, both Johnson and Pritzker could be liable if any ICE agent were to be injured or killed because of their illegal order. Pritzker really sees himself as a would-be president. He completely funds the Democrat Party of Illinois, so he owns everybody: the Speaker, the House, the fat cats, the special interests, and it is it's very interesting when you look at polls. He's at about 6%. I mean, that's really their bench. I mean, Gavin Newsom, as he proved in the debate, he's a fast talker. He's got great hair, but he's got encroaching corruption problems that before it's over will make what's going on in Minnesota with Somalis look like small potatoes. We're looking at massive outright theft of millions of state dollars who disappear into programs, and from that point, nobody can produce their work product or explain where the money went. An old pal of mine, Lou Barnett, a longtime Republican activist, active in the early Reagan campaigns, when I was chairman of the Young Republican National Federation from 1977 to 1979, he was on my ticket for the office of treasurer, and we served together. He pointed out this massive wave of corruption that is about to hit Gavin Newsom. Newsom actually went to Davos and they turned him away. I guess that was the point. He knew before he went there that he would be not permitted to attend or speak. So he went there as a media stunt. When you're a Getty, and he is a Getty, one of the richest people in the families in the country, you can afford the private jet both ways. That makes this little stunt affordable. He's notoriously lazy, but he has not just the Getty money. As the sitting governor of California, he has deep reach into all the special interests in the state, so he can raise very substantial money. Sitting governors always can. But his real problem, of course, is that his state is a basket case. Homelessness is out of control. Crime is out of control. Taxes have become completely confiscatory. The environmental policies are so extreme that you cannot build or improve anything new. They have lagged behind the national average in jobs, and they have a huge problem with public drug abuse. And their cities like Los Angeles, like San Francisco. I mean, now I used to go in the summer times. I would go in Santa Monica with my wife. We would sometimes drive up to La Jolla along the coastal road, stay there overnight, go to an enormous Black's beach there, and it was a great weekend. But I wouldn't think of going to Santa Monica. I see the pictures in Venice Beach of the homeless menacing people. So I don't know. I can't understand. I guess what I'm saying is, what is it Gavin Newsom runs on? We get it. He doesn't like Trump. He thinks he is Trump. He tries to be witty like Trump. He tries to be funny and clever like Trump. He can't really pull it off. And things at home are in a shambles. I always remember that George H.W. Bush, was one of the weakest Republican candidates ever nominated for president. And his strategists correctly concluded that you couldn't really elect him, but you could unelect Michael Dukakis. In other words, make Dukakis so toxic to middle America that George H.W. would become president. And they did that. They accused him of doing away with the Pledge of Allegiance and the salute to the flag. They pointed out a pardon parole system that had these day releases. And Willie Horton, very famously, a criminal who was let out on one of these temporary releases, killed somebody, became a very celebrated issue. They used all of that to take apart Dukakis, the Pledge of Allegiance, and so on. And they also focused on the epic pollution in the Boston Harbor. Here you had Dukakis, who's governor of Massachusetts, running on his environmental record, and of course, Boston Harbor was a wreck. So they used all those issues to eliminate him. The Democrats, these issues I think could be used on Gavin Newsom. AOC should not be scoffed at. Oh, she can raise the money. That's the thing. She can get the media coverage. She can get the younger voters. I would say her average donor is much smaller, but through the modern technology and maybe a little help from the folks at Act Blue, who are under investigation for fabricating small donations and record serial numbers to a number of Democrat candidates, we're going to be watching that very, very closely. And as I say, I'm waiting to see for the Republicans in the House to rally for the SAVE Act. I cannot understand how any member of Congress, Republican or Democrat, can oppose a simple requirement that the person registering or voting in our election is a U.S. senator, a U.S. citizen, and thus eligible to vote in a federal election. So it got through the House, I believe, and we're looking at the Republican Senate. The Republican Senate has failed to back Trump up when they need to. I'd like to see some more fight there. I think the president may be beginning to regret that in the end he supported John Thune over Florida's Rick Scott. Florida's Rick Scott has been a stout supporter of the president through it all. I used to have some criticism of him, but in retrospect, and compared to Ron DeSantis, looking at his record as governor for 2 terms and his record in the Senate, he really does fight for the people of Florida, and he really has had Donald Trump's back, which is certainly what people in this red state would want. In the meantime, I saw the president Friday night. He landed late at Mar-a-Lago, where I was having dinner on the patio. Somebody told him I was out there. He came out. We spoke for just a few minutes, and he went back. He looked amazingly good for a guy late on Friday night after the week that he put in. All of these stories about him being frail or in ill health, I can just tell you he is just as active and as vibrant and working as hard as he ever has. I've seen him several times the last couple of months. I saw him fleetingly on Friday night. And given what he's going through, he really looked quite good. My wife was with me. She has known him, of course. She attended our wedding in Washington, D.C. He was the third man to dance with the bride. First was me, then my father, then Donald Trump. So it was a great, great evening. I'm Roger Stone. We'll be right back.
This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
I'm not your stepping stone.
This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
They went after a guy named Roger Stone who's sitting in the office. And I'll say this in front of Roger, he's no baby. And right now he's cleaner than anybody in this place. No, they treated him very unfairly.
Now, get in the zone. It's the Stone Zone. Here's Roger Stone.
And you're jumping back into the Stone Zone. You know, they teach you in school that there are three branches of government: the executive, that's the president, and all of his departments; the legislative, that's both houses of Congress, and the judicial. And they tell you the judicial is supposed to be unbiased. It's supposed to be a fair, honest system where people who do commit crimes can be properly prosecuted. It's not supposed to be infected with politics, but sadly, that is not the case. And we saw how the Justice Department was weaponized against Donald Trump by a cabal of insiders at the highest levels of the deep state, called the military-industrial complex, by Dwight Eisenhower, trying to warn us about it. I make a simple case that it is a seditious conspiracy born in a White House meeting chaired by Barack Obama, spilling over to two impeachments, then the 2020 re-election, where I think there is substantial manipulation and fraud and hiding of data, on to the Fedsurrection of January 6th, where the only two people killed are murdered by the Capitol Hill police, and then into Arctic Frost, the phony documents case, in which the deep state is desperate to get back from Trump the documents that shows that they are the architects of the Russian collusion hoax. Trump filed a lawsuit in Florida in civil court laying out this whole case. The judge, a Clinton appointee, threw out the case and fined Donald Trump and his lawyer, Alina Habba, $1 million each. The case is on appeal. The appeals court judge, unfortunately, has a problem because the documents declassified by Tulsi Gabbard prove definitively that all of Trump's claims in his legal filing, in his motion, are correct. I've asked lawyers what now happens to this case given the incredible development. But now that we know exactly who this is, and you know the cast of characters here: John Brennan, the former CIA director, an Islamic convert who admits he was in the Communist Party, James Comey, who is taping the President of the United States surreptitiously, or his associate Rod Rosenstein, who actually offers in a meeting to wear a wire in an Oval Office meeting when he's the acting Attorney General, in a conversation with the FBI and others. He denies it to the Washington Post. They broke the story. He says absolutely not true. As soon as Joe Biden became president, he admitted it was entirely true. So the whole thing is an extraordinary setup. But the real question is, do we have a two-tier justice system or not? Will the Clintons be held liable for their crimes? There's epic corruption, pay to play going on in the Clinton foundations. Now, Bill could be immune under that Supreme Court decision, but that covers official acts. The lawyers would argue about that. But Hillary feathering their nest both in the foundation when she was Secretary of State, that shocked even Barack Obama. Obama's people told her to dial the grifting back. They set up rules which she never adhered to. They may be headed to testimony here. I can't wait to see. I'm Roger Stone. You're listening to The Stone Zone. I spent 50 years in the corroded rectum of the two-party system, and I've seen it all. And I give you the unvarnished, stone-cold truth here, 5 days a week, right here in the Stone Zone. So enter the zone. We talk politics, history, style, touch on food, and sometimes I get to see a movie and tell you what I think about it. But there's a lot of history here, and we bring you some very distinguished guests. Again, the Stone Zone is brought to you by Red Apple Audio Networks. We're privileged to be with you. Until tomorrow, God bless you and Godspeed.
Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now, is right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I
filed my return,
but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though. I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.